haven't... Oh, Bella's here. You guys want to come in? Come on in there, Brady. Come on in, bud. All right, we'll leave the door open. We'll leave the door open for you. Bella, am I going to have to hold you this whole time? Are we going to have to be best friends, huh? Are we going to have to be friends? Let's switch. Let's switch it up. There we go. Your foot's caught. Okay, here we go. If you've never been here before, this is Dr. Mark Jesinoski. This is the Wizard Podcast, episode 46. But what I was blabbing on while I was getting set up is the fact that we all go through some shit, and when you're in it, it's almost impossible to reflect. To sit there and take a big giant breath and step back and look upon your life experiences from a different perspective. To reflect. And when you're able to get to a space where you can take a breath because you're out of the battle, you're out of the fire, you're out of the shit that's been consuming you, and either you're out of it literally, you have escaped from it, been sent home from it, gone away from it, separated from it, whatever, or you have grown through something, so you've changed your perspective. You've changed your attitude. You've changed your practice. You've changed your mind. You've learned to step outside of your shit. And in reflection, you think, wow, I was really in some shit. That hurt. That sucked. That was scary. So we've all been through some shit. Oh, that my neighbor's voice sounded like a car alarm there for a second. And I was just reflecting on starting this podcast. And the fact that I haven't really thought that much about it. The fact that I knew nothing about any of this shit a year and 8 months ago, 2 years ago. Let's call it 2 years, because I started looking into it long before I started it. But just this practice of getting to a place where I was willing to hit record and just share my thoughts, my mind, my heart in the present moment without needing to evaluate it or judge it or prepare for it or, control it, just to be with it, to allow it. Something that my life journey has taught me is that everyone has a story. Everyone is walking through something. Everyone is on their own personal journey, and they are facing their own personal challenges, and we are in something, and we are faced with many decisions. I don't know if you can hear the piano in the background. I can pick up sound so much better through these headphones. It's nice to have a little interruption and then just to refocus the mind. Will I pet this white bunny dog? This is my mom's dog, Bella. She abandoned her here for the summer. Not really, but Mom was staying here for a while and she went back to Minnesota for the summer, and so Bella's here for the summer. So starting this podcast for me was a completely new experience. I had to learn about audio equipment. I had to learn about video. I had to learn about subtitles. I had to learn about microphones. Just the process of putting it together so you can sit down and say, hey, everybody, how are you? Here's how I am. Here's where I'm at tonight. You know, I hear some people kind of criticize the idea of, you know, everyone has a podcast now, or which is not true. Or, you know, we live in this world where anybody can pick up a phone and tell their story and share it with the world. You ever just stop and contemplate how unbelievable that is? And that if we're all just even a little bit wiser and we learn how to tune out all these false stories and all these stories and fears and things that are designed to grab your attention and make you continue to behave in a certain way, to buy into a certain thing. But the fact that I can sit here and listen to people from all over the world, and I can look at them expressing themselves and sharing their voice and sharing how they navigate this world, or just sharing a funny moment, or sharing their heart. It's our shared humanity. It's our shared story. It's the fact that we're all literally on this beautiful place, floating through infinite space together. You know, we're on this beautiful spaceship together. So more and more and more, I'm considering, rather than being negative, rather than being judgmental, rather than being an asshole and putting that out into the world, I just like to look at things as what a gift. The fact that I get to be in this, the fact that I get to live in this, the fact that I get to exist. You know, we question life. We just get full fucking frustrated. Things aren't going our way. And our politics aren't going our way. And it's all rigged because we're all victims. And we're all angry and hurt and frustrated. And I've been there, brothers and sisters. I have been there. But at some point, when you're able to reflect, when you're able to take a big step back and say, I'm gonna watch myself from the outside. I'm going to be a witness. I'm gonna sit over here and observe my own mind, and I'm gonna observe my own body, and I'm gonna notice the sensations that are being expressed in the moment that manifest or that are interpreted as emotions or ideas or beliefs or behaviors or attitudes. You know, I'm going to sit back here and notice the pulses in the body and the pulses in the mind and how they manifest in things that become the stories we tell, the emotions we express, all these things. And in reflecting, I'm going to say, wow, I'm actually in this thing. I get to do this thing. Look at me over there. I'm thinking. I'm figuring shit out. I'm feeling. I'm observing. I get to be. I get to do this. At some point, you start to look at life as this unbelievable gift that you never realized before. And you just holy shit, I'm alive. I have a body. If I had never witnessed a human being before and I saw this body, I would think, wow, what an amazing thing. Look at all these things that can move and work and make things and hug things and build things and all kinds of cool stuff. So more and more I'm just looking at sharing my voice in this way as this is just my little corner of the world. This is just a little tiny slice into how I perceive the moment, how I experience my life, how I live in the moment, how I live through things, how I struggle through things, how I grow through things. Just, you know, this is me. We're all walking around this planet having our own unique experiences We're all collecting data. We're all experiencing this thing from our own unique point of view. Every single person has their own unique perspective, their own unique way to reflect upon this thing that we're doing together. And what we allow ourselves to be bought into, this is how we are controlled, really, either implicitly or explicitly, is we start to think, I'm righter than that person. I'm righter than that other. I know more than them. I'm better than. I have done more. I have more. I think I'm more. I think I'm better than. If you think you're better than, you probably have a lot to learn, in my humble opinion. But the simple flip in perspective is, instead of me saying, I'm here to tell everyone else how to think, instead of looking at people as stupid or wrong or dumb or the other, and I know something they don't know, and I better tell them, you better behave this way, or else you're an idiot, or else I will ostracize you, or else I will, put my social justice on you. I will put some sort of justification on you. I will exact some sort of power upon you, even though I say I'm a peace-loving, open-minded, liberally minded person. I'm going to force upon you the chains of my perspective. I'm going to force upon you the limitations of my perspective. I'm going to say, I know more than you. Your behavior's not like mine. Your behavior doesn't make me feel safe. Your behavior is not correct according to my point of view, so I'm going to punish you. I'm going to put all this shit on you. Instead of saying, I'd like to be really curious about why you see the world the way you do. Without being a snarky asshole, without saying, oh yeah, oh really, oh that's how you think? Well, this is how I really think, you fucking asshole. Right? Without being a snarky asshole and just saying, tell me about that. Tell me your perspective. I would be really curious to know your perspective. I'd be really curious to know how you arrived at that conclusion. I'd be really curious to know what your life journey has been like. What have you learned? What have your experiences been like? What has life taught you? What has your journey through this life, what stuck to you in the form of memory, and how does that memory act itself out in you, and how does that become who you are? And to genuinely be curious and hold that space with someone and say, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your thoughts. Tell me about your fears. Tell me about your heart. Tell me about what's good in your life. Tell me about what sucks in your life. Helicopter. So, to be curious. To be is one thing. To be is the thing that is the gift I get to be. To be. Which means I get to frolic around this place and I get to say, hi, how are you? Tell me about your life. What are you up to? What have you learned? And I get to experience this life. And I get to ask you, how are you? Tell me about you. What is it like to be you? So we're all walking around this planet collecting data. We're all walking around this planet having our own unique experiences. And when we force upon each other in the form of self-righteousness, in the form of imposition, in the form of I am righter than you, somehow my perspective is more powerful than yours, more elite than yours, more better than yours, that just, it never works to move people. To criticize, to minimize, to condescend upon people does not work. That is not from a place of love. It's not from a place of enlightenment. It's not from a place of value. It's from an asshole place. It's from a I'm better than you place. It's from a I've decided this is the way the world works and I'm much smarter than these other assholes, so I certainly know more than you. Give me a break. So that's part of why I'm doing this podcast, is I get to be and I get to share. And Bella just smacked her head. Bella, do you want to get down? Let's get down. Or do you want to stay in my lap? I don't know. You're indecisive. You're kind of an indecisive dog. So I get to be and I get to share. And that's awesome. I get to be and I get to share. And you get to choose whether you want to listen to my voice and hear my voice and share this space with me and even share your voice back with me. You get to decide that. We all get to decide whether we want to tune something in or tune it out. Wouldn't it just be amazing to tune out the hurtful, harmful, condescending, self-righteous voices of the world, to just decide anybody who would speak to me from a place of hate or self-righteousness or judgment, anyone who would look down upon me and tell me what is wrong with me, that I don't behave like them, I don't need no part of that. I do not need to be allowing that into my life. I have done enough of that. I'm emerging out of that. And in emerging out of that and reflecting upon it, I realize how much I have kept my voice to myself among my friends and family and neighbors. I've been in my little shell. We go into our shells and we create our space. We create our comfort zone. And speaking for myself, and to be very, very empathic, really, to all of our experiences, we create a comfort zone. We create a shell. We create a space because we've all been hurt or harmed by people we thought loved us. We've been hurt or harmed by the establishments of power around us. And I say that because, organized things around us that create rules that are supposed to guide us, supposed to protect us. But a lot of these establishments of power around us seem to really not care that much about us. Certainly these establishments are run by people, run by individuals who collectively come together and decide it's okay to objectify large groups of people in this way. It's okay to take advantage of them. It's okay to control them. It's okay to manipulate them. So I just decided we live in a day and age where it's okay to share my voice. And it feels good to do that. And it feels good to wake up from this slumber and reflect upon it. And to just realize I get to share this space. One thing I did today that I've been thinking about for a while, and it just gave me so much joy. I literally feel so much joy in my body about it. Ooh, I went and got this. I got myself a recurve bow. I grew up more or less in the woods of Minnesota, and I grew up shooting a recurve bow, and then I shot a compound bow for a long time, but I haven't really done it since, I don't know, my early 20s. That little red fingernail, that's from Olivia right there. I cherish those things. So I went and got myself a bow. And it allows me to do something that I love as a form of practice that allows me to quiet my mind and focus my attention and do something I love and practice all at the same time. And I really just got so much joy. And I didn't even expect, when I went and got this today. And by the way, for anyone who hasn't listened to this podcast before, or you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, I'm a clinical psychologist and I work with a lot of different people, but I've worked with a lot of veterans. And veterans, infantry, Marines in particular, tend to call psychologists the wizard or going to see the wizard. So that's just something that was an inside joke, and it became this term, and that became this podcast. So anyway, and I do this podcast to share practical information, to be honest, just to share from the point of view of a clinician who's also just a dude and a dad and a guy going through a divorce. Just sharing the reality of my life, a man in his early 40s who is balancing fatherhood with a professional life, with just navigating all the things that come with navigating life, the day-to-day things of life, So I've shared that through this medium in a way that I feel is useful and respectful and hopefully, relatable. And I do that because I get to share my voice. I get to share my voice with you. You get to share your voice with me. And rather than feel like we need to quiet our voices, rather than feel like we need to hide, because maybe when you were a kid, you were punished by your parent and you were told to shut up and get away. And your voices weren't valued as children, either by your parents or your community or your country. Your voices weren't valued. You're told to shut up and mind your own business and get in your place. You're starting to realize all those people that try to make you believe that they're serving you, they're not serving you. They're serving something else. So why the hell can't I share my voice? Why the hell can't you share your voice? My natural voice, my honest voice. And I love hearing other people's voices and hearing how they navigate this life and learning from those other people. So one thing I did today that gave me a lot of joy and that gave me an unexpected boost of energy that I just didn't even see coming is I went and bought this beautiful Southwest Archery recurve bow. I think it's a 62-inch, 35-pound recurve bow. But I was literally like a kid in the store. And what was great is the guy that sold it to me was a scout, an Army scout. And he did some time abroad. I don't know if you can hear my neighbor screaming really loud. That's always fun. Just the vibe of the neighborhood. It's interesting how you can feel that when someone screams. Someone screams in pain. Even when they're angry, they scream and they're in pain. When someone's angry, they tend to be in pain. Rather than reacting to people that are so angry, you can just look at them and say, oh, you're in pain. Someone has wronged you. You believe something is really wrong in your life and you're angry. It's okay. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel your anger. It's even okay to tell me about your anger. Go ahead. That's what I tell my kids. It's okay to feel. It's okay to be angry. We've been told our whole life, shut the fuck up, put your emotions away, and if you feel those emotions, they're a problem. You're a problem if you have too many emotions. You're a problem if you express yourself too much. You're a problem if you're too needy. Rather than just being your natural self, you're a problem if you express too much. Put those damn emotions away. How many times have we been told to do that? Well, I don't want to put my emotions away. I don't want to put my thoughts away. I don't want to put my heart away. I've done that enough. I have done that enough. I choose to live in love. I choose to live in creativity. I choose to share honestly in the present moment. I choose to listen to others, and I choose to seek out honest voices and to tune out the dishonest, disorderly, manipulative, power-hungry ones. I have no time for them anymore. Feels good. It feels good to just share with you tonight. Just to share. Just to be in this space. And I know this space I'm in right now, this space I'm sharing with you, has been, this particular moment is kind of a, coming out of the cave kind of moment for me, I think. This past week, really, these past couple weeks, I started jiu-jitsu again. I started jiu-jitsu like 4 years ago, and I never got to do it that long, but I really loved it. And I always wanted to get back to it, and I got back to it 2 weeks ago. And it woke my body up, and it made my body sore, and it just reminded me that I'm alive. And I got this beautiful bow, and I'm reminded that I'm alive. And I learned to set much better boundaries for myself, and I'm reminded that I'm alive. And that I get to choose, I get to be. And in some ways, I'm recognizing also that I've chose my suffering. As much as I can blame or throw things at someone else or something else or blame whoever, not much is actually different now, objectively speaking, than has been in the past few years. I still have to navigate things. We all have to navigate things. We got to navigate shit. Something that was really eye-opening for me in my life is, look, I'm going to have to set boundaries with people for the rest of my life. You can't be nice enough to people to make them just leave you alone. You can't hide enough. You can't cower enough. You can't stay inside enough. There's not enough Purell you can rub all over someone to protect yourself enough. At some point, you're going to have to stand up to something. You're going to have to set boundaries for yourself. You're going to have to draw your lines. You're going to have to stand firm. And it's okay to pause like that. And it's okay to let go. Just because your mind is having a thought, just because you're attached to an idea, just because you're attached to a certain position, just because you think you know better. Sometimes you got to step back and look at, what are these things doing for me? What are these ideas in my head doing for me? Does it feel good to be so fucking tied, to fight so hard for an idea that you don't even probably understand fully? And no one probably does, because it's been so abused and co-opted and turned upside down. So rather than questioning the ethics of the tribe you're a part of, you just completely change your ethics and turn them upside down, right? Just go right along with it. Sometimes you got to set some boundaries for yourself. Sometimes you have to wake up and decide, I get to choose how I put my feet on the floor. I get to choose how I breathe. I get to choose how I move my body. I get to choose my attitude. I actually get to choose how I practice. There's a lot of power in that. I've been a victim. I've played victim. I've had myself hurt. I have been hurt by people I trusted and loved. And I experienced the low places that come with that. I experienced the low places and the challenging places and the mucky places and the stuck places and the fuck you places. But at some point along that, in that deep, dark corridor of your pain, you do have to decide if you want to keep fighting against all these things and trying to hold them all together and trying to force the world to be the way you think it should be for you to be okay, telling everyone else what an asshole they are if they don't behave in accordance with how you think the world should be. And pretty soon you have a heart attack, and pretty soon you're overwhelmed with stress and grief and anxiety. So you can keep fighting it. Or you can actually take a step back in the present moment and notice the sensation of it. This thing you call anxiety, this thing you call depression, this thing you call politics. All these things, all these stories we tell, you can take a step back and say, what do I notice I feel in my body when I'm telling this story? What do I notice about the sensations in my body in this present moment? Do I want to keep fighting this? Do I want to keep telling this story? Do I want to keep standing up for liars and manipulators? Do I want to keep living as an unconscious servant to people who clearly do not have my best interests in mind or the best interests of my family, my loved ones? Do I want to keep unconsciously serving those who do not live from a place of love? Those who do not live from a place of responsibility, basic ethics, basic values? Do I want to keep unconsciously serving that? It's a big mess. It's a big mess. It's a big, traumatic, separated, nasty mess. I don't want it anymore. Don't need it anymore. Don't need that shit anymore. I'm going to play with my bow, and I'm going to do jujitsu, and I'm going to love my friends and my family, and I'm going to do my best to look at those around me and say, how are you? What is going on? What's this journey been like for you? Tell me about it. Let's sit here and talk about it. Tell me what you've learned. Let me be curious about your perspective. Oh man, I hope you're all doing wonderful out there. I'm so grateful to all of my friends out there, my family that are listening. I just want you all to know that I don't think I could possibly explain really what these past 3 years have been like. But I want you to know I'm in a good place. And there's been a great gift in this journey. Many great gifts in this journey. And they keep on giving. And I think at some point, getting to a place where you realize if you keep holding on to this thing, if you keep fighting for this thing, if you keep telling yourself the same story, if you don't learn to stand up for yourself, if you don't learn that sometimes you just do have to stand your ground in life. Sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you have to say, bullshit, I am not doing that anymore, man. I just want you all to know that I've been looking at the world much differently. And I've been so grateful and accepting of the present space I'm in as it is, and recognizing the gift that it is. Recognizing the gift that this present moment is. It doesn't have to be anything more than it is. Sometimes I'm holding my little girl's hands, or I'm spending time with my little girls, and even in moments when, we might get cranky as parents, or we might get frustrated, or, the bedtime moments, the morning moments, whatever. I try to say to myself, this is heaven. If I died right now and I went to, the pearly gates and I was talking to God or talking to whoever's there. Sorry, there's a helicopter going over. Give it a moment. Wow, they're low. Usually, I live near Camp Pendleton in San Diego. That's a low-flying Cobra, I think. Otherwise, it's quite peaceful up here. But if I got to the pearly gates and God said, what does heaven look like for you? What is heaven to you? I would say, send me right back to that moment. Send me right back to that moment where I'm holding my little girl's hand as we're walking home from school, or I'm holding both of their hands. And it might be hot, and they might be hungry, they might be laughing, they might be crying, they might be whatever. But this is heaven. I get to hold their hand. I get to be their dad. I get to feel this feeling. I get to navigate this moment. I get to work through this moment with them. I get to look at them and say, hey, it's okay to feel that way. Your body's just telling you how you see this moment. That's all emotions are. Your body's just telling you, you feel hurt. It's okay. Just feel it. You tell someone it's okay to feel what they feel, and all of a sudden, they feel better because they feel loved by you. And they know that what they're feeling in their body, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. So rather than judging them, rather than suppressing it, rather than pathologizing it, rather than telling them you're so naughty and you're so wrong for being angry, you're such a naughty little boy, you're such a naughty little girl. It's nonsense. It's okay to feel what you feel. And it's okay to talk about it. And it's okay to express it. Just don't hurt someone else. This works with children. It works with adults. And I look across this great land of ours, and I see swaths of people who are told to shut the fuck up because you don't matter. People who are fighting paycheck to paycheck, who are just told to shut the fuck up. Pick your side. Pick your side. You're supposed to work for one of us. You got to work for one of us. You need to be afraid of each other. You need to judge each other. You need to tell each other you're wrong and you're right. They're wrong and you're right. We tell people that their voices don't matter, or much worse yet, we completely deny people their basic rights, their basic voice. We completely deny. This is basic psychology, basic emotions, basic human behavior in this culture. Forget politics and ideas for a second. Just like a narcissist denies their partner, their friend, their son or daughter or whatever, the narcissist denies their reality so they don't have to take responsibility for their behavior. The narcissist tells the child, shut up. You are wrong. You're wrong for expressing that feeling. You're wrong for trying to correct my behavior, even though I'm being an asshole. That's exactly what happens in our culture on a systemic level. You're wrong for feeling that way. You're wrong for acting out. You're wrong. And I'm not going to support you. I'm going to tell you your voice doesn't matter. I'm going to suppress your voice. I'm going to deny your voice. I'm not going to listen to your needs. I'm going to take your money. I'm going to take your hard-earned money, and I'm going to do what I want for it. I'm going to disperse it among my wealthy friends, and we're all going to come up with policies to make sure you all mind your business while we profit off of this thing. Shut the fuck up and mind your own business. Stay in your place. That's what hurtful, harmful parents do to their children. That's what hurtful, harmful cultures do to their people. And when you treat people like that, of course they're going to act out. Just like if you deny a child's point of view, if you deny their heart, if you deny their voice, you deny their emotions, you don't just let them feel what they feel, express what they express. Tell them you love them anyway. When you treat people like that, when you treat children like that, when you treat teenagers like that, when you treat your husband like that, or your wife like that, or your community like that, or your country like that, they are going to act out their feelings. I see all over right now, people, mass shootings are up and violence is up and, people are hurting each other more. There's more acting out. Well, what do you think is going on? You take people's rights away slowly and incrementally. You shut them up, you shut them down, you shut them in. Of course people are acting out. Of course people are committing suicide. And what happens? Let's impose more rules. Just think about this. If you were dealing with, I'm a psychologist, if I'm dealing with a parent and a child, and what I see is an asshole parent, a narcissistic parent, a self-serving parent, a parent that can't be bothered to look at their child and say, what are you feeling? What is your anger about? Tell me about that. Hey buddy, I'm here. I love you. If I'm a psychologist and I see an asshole parent and an acting out child, a child that is called bad or wrong or has ADD in school, this child is acting out and we can't control them. When I see that, I don't blame the child and say, yeah, you're right. We got ourselves a problem child here. We better fix them. We better give them some medication and make those symptoms go down. No. More often than not, I would say 9 times out of 10, at a pretty high degree, maybe a little less than that, what I see is a child that is hurting. I see a child that is not being heard. I see a child that is not being empathized with. I see a child that is being neglected, and imagine a child that just wants to be held by their parent, a child that just wants to be loved, a child that just wants to be heard. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to be punished. They want to be loved by their moms and their dads. They want to know that their teachers care for them, and that their mayors care for them, and that their community cares for them. When you show that love and you show that validation, you say, hey neighbor, I'm here. I love you. Tell me about yourself. Oh, you need some help. Let me help you. Let me be there for you. When we have that attitude, people just shine. They just light up. When you do that with children, you don't need to punish them. You don't need to control them. You don't need to even put them in timeout, because they feel your love and they want to be part of your tribe. And they actually want to work with you, and they want to help you, and they want to be part of the team. Well, that same dynamic is true on a societal level. You'd have to be a complete idiot at this point to not look at the dynamic between the powerful, and when I say powerful, I mean those who make and enforce the rules, and those who abuse the system of things, those who try to speak in accurate terms, those who create and impose a system that is certainly rigged in a certain way, and they demand that you're a part of it, and that if you act out from it, if you express anger, if you express frustration, if you say, hey, this doesn't seem fair what you're doing to me. Hey, this is crazy. Why are you doing this? Why are you imposing this? Why are you shutting me down? Why are you taking away my rights? Why are you taking away my voice? You have people that, just like those children, you have people that are feeling completely neglected, completely unheard, like they're not part of the tribe. They're not a meaningful part of the tribe. Their voice doesn't matter. And they know that no matter what they do, they can't get ahead. I'm not saying that hard work doesn't get people ahead. But there's only so much natural space. There's only so much air. There's only so much to go around. So my simple point is, in this culture, what we do when people act out their emotions is we pathologize those emotions, and we label them as disorders and diseases, and we have medications waiting for those disorders and diseases. And rather than recognize that our natural emotions in our bodies are a God-given natural expression of our brain and body saying, wait a second, something is wrong with this picture. This doesn't feel right. Those things we call anxiety and depression, the emotions, the fundamental emotions of the body that become those things, those fundamental emotions, those sensations in your body are saying, hey, something's not right here. And when people are so fed up and so overwhelmed and so angry and so hurt, and they feel so powerless, and they start acting out, what we do is we say, those ones are the crazy ones. Those ones are the bad ones. Let's medicate them. Let's put them in prison. Let's get them away, because certainly there's something wrong with them. Most of the people I work with, I would say all the people I work with, I look at them. One of the first things I do, I look at them and I say, hey, it's okay to feel what you feel. There's actually nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Your body is just expressing itself in the context of how you perceive yourself in the context of this experience. Let's talk about it. Let's understand it. Let's be curious about it. What is your body telling you? And is the story attached to what your body is telling you? Is it accurate or not? If it isn't accurate, let's work on refining that. Let's work on helping you understand how you see yourself in the world. If it is accurate, tell me about your trauma. Tell me about your pain. Tell me about your experience. Could you imagine? Forget about changing the minds of those in those positions of power. Could you imagine a culture of people that actually gave a shit about each other? A culture of people that said, wait a second, let them talk. Let them speak. They're hurting. Let them talk. When it comes to allowing the other to have a voice, all you got to do is recognize that if you look at them and say, I value your voice, I want to hear what you have to say, they will also look at you and say, you know what? I also value your voice. I want to hear what you have to say. Let's all realize we're all sharing this experience of generational trauma, of generational manipulation, of generational acting out this same play over and over and over again. So all you got to do is look at people and say, hey, I value your perspective. I'm going to stand up for your right to share that perspective. Regardless of what side I am on, I'm going to recognize that as a fundamental right. The fundamental right. If I can't tolerate you and you can't tolerate me, none of this shit matters. None of this shit works. And all these people that we're allowing to abuse us, hey, these abusive parents gotta go. We're allowing ourselves to be abused. We're literally acting out our trauma. We're acting out our trauma, our generational trauma, and we're allowing people to use our trauma against us, to call our emotions sicknesses and diseases, to call our acting out a pathology, a problem. Shut up and sit down. Keep your mouth shut. It's so simple and so clear when you put it in those terms. An abusive parent denies a child their natural voice, their natural emotions. Rather than that child feeling loved and valued, and rather than that child expressing their natural voice and learning that they can venture into this life curious and brave and excited, that abusive, narcissistic parent makes that child feel terrible and horrible and unheard and stuck in the corner and neglected. And that's exactly what happens on a systemic level. That's why people are so angry. That's why people are so hurting. That's why people are acting out. That's why violence is increasing. That's why mass shootings are increasing. It's why suicide is increasing. It's why domestic violence is increasing. Everyone is acting out their helplessness and their hopelessness and their powerlessness. And they're freaking out because they know that they're going to drown within the system as it is. You see people on this ship, this big fancy ship, you see them sailing away and leaving these others behind. And they know that, and they're angry and they're frustrated and they're hurting and they're acting out. Rather than pathologizing them and minimizing them and calling them the other and saying they're the problem, listen to them. Listen to their emotions. When you see someone hurting, when you see someone angry, say, hey, it's okay. It's okay to feel. Tell me your story. I want to hear your story. Tell me what's on your mind. You matter. Things would change overnight. That's all I got. This is Dr. Mark Jesinoski. This is the Wizard Podcast. I'm so excited about my new bow. Have a wonderful night, everyone.